Hello, everybody, and welcome to 20 Minutes Till Dawn. Now, I've made, I think, 2 or 3 videos about this game so far, but I wanted to kind of do a review of it. So, at the moment, this game is $3 on Steam. It is in beta, so I don't know if that price will increase upon launch. At the time of recording, it is on version 0.77, and in this current version, there's already quite a lot of content. So you can see there are quite a lot of different characters. I have not even gotten the chance to play all of them, but I have beaten these 2 new ones have been released since I was playing last time. So I haven't unlocked them yet, as well as a new weapon. So these developers are really on top of it. They're churning out content all the time. They're adding different game modes. Endless mode is the big new thing that they're still working on balancing. So it's not quite 100% there, but I am very confident by the end of the development cycle that this endless mode will be worked out. Before we jump into the game and start playing, though, I do want to look at the options because the biggest complaint I have about this game is a lack of colorblind mode. And you'll see once we start playing the game that a lot of the colors are very similar. For someone like myself who has full color vision, it's not really a problem. But if you have any sort of color blindness, this game can be rather difficult for you to play. As you can see, the options are very, very bare bones. There really isn't much there. There are quite a lot of language options, so I will give credit for that. You know, they have done a great job of making this game accessible to a multitude of different language speakers, but for optical ability, they haven't done the same, which I find a bit odd. So when you start the game, you start off as Shana, and you start with the revolver, so that's what we'll do for the sake of this. I do have upgrades that you get a currency, hit this currency at the top from playing the game. Every time you complete a round, depending on how far you get a certain amount of currency. So I am a fully upgraded character. However, I tend to find that I suck with a revolver, so this might be a really quick run. But again, the goal of this is just to show you how the game works. So we're going to do Darkness 1, which is the easiest, and obviously there's 15 different levels. And I think this kind of works out really well because as you're unlocking runes and becoming more powerful, you're progressing through the difficulty, which in turn makes the game a little bit harder. So I think those 2 things really balance it out. We're at 15, having the right runes with the right weapons, the right character. You know, it's really needed. I actually haven't gone back and played difficulty 1, so we'll see how it goes. And I also haven't played with the revolver since I bought the crossbow. That's how I use the crossbow in this character to complete the first 15 levels, as well as working on the runes, because I really like the way the crossbow plays. But I want to give a example of how the game would play if you were just starting out. Let's see here. So this is new. The Smite one's the new one that came out recently, and so you've heard about that if you watched my other videos. Typically, the game has a bit of a problem with pure gun builds being not very good. The revolver does like 20 damage. So plus 35% could be good. We can do I'm not quite sure which way I want to go with this build. The revolver is pretty flexible. So at this point, I think I'm just going to grab Smite because I think it looks cool. And you know, it's difficulty 1, and this is just a quick demo. You know, we don't get to the full 20 minutes. Who cares, right? Who cares? So the spear you see around me, you will not have when you first start the game. That is a upgrade that you get down the defensive shield tree. I would highly recommend when you're starting the game to go down the defensive tree first, and then switch to the offense one once you kind of have some defensive abilities. As you know, getting the upgrades and how the upgrades kind of compound with each other is really what makes the game fun and interesting, because every time you play, you get different upgrades. And you know, if you're dying at like level 3 or whatever, you're not really getting that fun, the seeing how they mix together. And of course, this character is really nice because you get this reroll upgrades ability, which makes trying to do a very specific build really consistent. And you know, rerolls are great because say my whole thing is I want the Reaper rounds, which, you know, to get there, as the tree indicates, I'd have to get this one first, and then I'd have to get this one or this one to even have the option to get this one. So having the option to reroll can be a pretty big deal. Because I haven't played in a while, I'm gonna go for this one, the thing that makes my shield come back really quick. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab this upgrade that just makes it where lightning comes down whenever I have a shield, just to try and get me to the more consistent shield. Now, right now, the defense isn't a big deal, as you know, as there aren't very many enemies. They're a lot slower than what I'm used to playing at difficulty 15. But I still, you know, want to grab some defensive upgrades just in case. Oh, you also would start with full health. I have an upgrade that makes us start up at half health. Do we want to do? Sure, let's try this out. I haven't really played with the curse yet. Let's give it a go. Let's see how it does. So as you can see with this game, the color palette is incredibly muted. The difference between this enemy here and kind of the background is not huge. And for someone who might have some sort of vision impairment, I would be concerned that this game might be rather difficult to play, as they might only be able to see the eyes. Now, don't get me wrong, the game looks beautiful, but just having the option, at least, to try and raise the contrast for people who may be vision impaired might be a good idea. Obviously, once they get into the vision range, it's a much higher contrast, but from far out, it can be like down here, it can be kind of difficult to see the enemies. Luckily, all the enemies' projectiles are red. So if we get to the point where we can see the red projectiles, you'll see what I mean. But I don't know. Maybe it's not a problem for most people, but it still would be nice to have some sort of contrast change or some sort of visual setting just to make the enemies a little bit easier to see if you are struggling with it. At this point, I've kind of gotten used to it, but I remember when I was first playing the game, I really had a hard time kind of differentiating between some enemies and things like the trees that use the same color palette. It doesn't help that the enemies can get behind the trees, which makes it really difficult to see them. But I think at that point, all you can see is their eyes. Let's see if I kite. Yeah, so if you, as you could see down there when I was kiting that individual into that tree, you can only see that creature's eyes while they're in the tree. Which, you know, I guess kind of makes you want to get rid of the trees, which is an aspect. You can't shoot the trees so much that they do go away. So maybe that is intended for gameplay purposes. But just generally having issues seeing the enemies if you are vision impaired might not be kind of be intended. The enemy does, or the game also does have a wide variety of enemies. As you can see, these guys here, they explode upon being shot, or if they get too close to you, they'll explode. There are enemies later on, as well as bosses, and the enemy outlined in red, like this one down here, is a boss. To make it easier for you to quickly identify them. As you can see, when that enemy exploded, they do explode red to help you see. Yeah. Okay, so each character has 3 upgrades they can get from bosses. This is obviously one of Shana's upgrades. This adds another element to the differences between the characters, which is nice. As certain characters, for example, Spark is great with lightning. So if you pick Spark, you're going to do a lightning build's going to work a lot better. Shana is a bit of a jack of all trades, hence why it's the starting one. Personally, I think Shana's the best one I've played with, just because the being able to triple a single upgrade is kind of massive. Like, I've just tripled my reload rate. You'll be able to see at the end the triple, and I've added, basically doubled my ammo for my revolver, which is pretty nice, and it kind of informs me of how I want to play it. Now that my revolver has 12 shots, I can kind of spam the shots pretty quickly. Something like a lightning build or something like a maybe like a fire or ice build is a lot easier because each shot has a chance of causing one of the elemental damages. So having more shots being sprayed out usually means that you're more likely to cause the elemental damage. We didn't get any of those. What is this? Max HP? Okay. So for every 500 we kill, we get a potential max HP. That would be nice. Adds a little bit of survivability to our character. Dude, we are shooting so fast now. Oh right, we took the upgrade that makes it where every time we kill an enemy with while we're shooting that one clip, the next clip shoots faster depending on how many enemies we killed that last clip. So that compounds pretty well. Obviously, the more we had to shoot now, we're having a hard time hiding because while we're shooting, we're slower. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the lightning now that we're shooting a lot more. We have a lot more ammo. I think we'll get the lightning a lot more consistently. The way the lightning works is it's based on your cursor, so I just kind of like keep my cursor on my person because that way it just automatically targets the closest enemy, and I don't really have to worry about trying to target anything. I think there's a way you can play now where it automatically shoots the closest enemy if you turn it on in the settings. I have not tried that yet, but it might be good for newer players. As you can see here, this enemy is different. It blocks off the surrounding area, as well as they have a mechanic of charging at you, while the other one was basically just a souped up version of one of the, I guess they're like mind flayery kind of creatures. But this guy actually has his own fight mechanics. As he charges you, you have to dodge. There's one later on that shoots beams in different directions. There's one that spawns enemies, like little fast enemies that fly towards you. So there are actually pretty fun, unique bosses in this game. And another thing that's kind of nice is these upgrades tend to have a downside. So you're faster, but -1 hit. Your summoning's better, but -50 shooting. I think, is this the only one that doesn't have a negative? This one used to have a negative, I thought. It used to reduce bullet damage. Maybe they changed that. Well, now there's really no reason not to take this one, so I guess I'll go ahead and increase my elemental damage. I don't know if I've taken fire yet. I don't really want any of these. I could take this one. Make me shoot faster. Might be nice because now we have 12 shots. Yeah, you know what? We'll just go with that. This game does have quite a wide variety of different weapons and upgrades along its characters, making it have a lot of replay value. For $3, I tend to subscribe to the belief that for every $1 I pay for a video game, I should be able to get 1 hour of gameplay out of it. So for $3, this game is really quite a bargain. I think you very easily could get 30 hours out of this game if you particularly like the gameplay loop. Nice thing about it is if you're working, you come home and you kind of just want to play like a quick 20-minute game before you like dinner or something like that. It is a really nice way of doing it. Or maybe, if you just want to get like one game in before you have to go to bed or something, you can just play one round and you don't have to worry about kind of getting lost in it, as opposed to like an MMO that doesn't have any objective and you can kind of play indefinitely. This game has like a nice little time set to it. So, worst case scenario, you're playing 20 minutes and then you can get back to whatever you're doing or you can do anything else. So it's just, it's a nice little quick game you can pick up, get a round in or two, and then move on with whatever you have to do today. As I've needed to get more and more done in my workday, I've appreciated games like this a lot more than what I used to play, which is predominantly like MMOs and things, which are much more of a time sink. I really appreciate game design like this a lot more. the more I have going on. Okay. I mean, going down the ice rod's good. This upgrade isn't particularly great, but I think I want to see how this the fully upgraded curse kind of thing works. Jeez, that was dumb. Well, like I said, I'm not a pro at this game. There are people out there that can probably consistently beat this game at the hardest level, regardless of what upgrades they get. I'm definitely not in that camp. Yeah, we'll do more shields. So hopefully I can show you the last few bosses and a few more enemy types. Obviously we've gotten the eye guys in the game now, and they shoot these little red projectiles. And there's a boss that kind of is inspired by them, but there's also these really tough enemies later that I really would like to be able to showcase and show off. This game does have a very Lovecraftian kind of art style, very inspired by kind of like the Mind Flayers and all that mythology. We're gonna grab the lightning one. So a lot of builds actually work really well together. As you can tell, the elemental damage builds include lightning, right? The lightning one has a summon in it. So if you were doing a summon build, getting lightning is still useful for you, as increasing your summons damage and your summons chance, or each time your summons attack will actually help this lightning summon. So there's a lot of overlap in the trees and kind of the different combinations you can do, and figuring out different things that work well together is a lot of fun in this game. My God, these are getting real crazy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through. I think I messed up my build by getting those extra 6 shots. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the ice one because I think I need some freezing to help me. Oh, do I not have any bullet penetration? I don't. That's right, the revolver doesn't start with any bullet penetration. I have to do getting upgrades for it. Yeah, I don't think I'm probably gonna get to the end of this. I think I'm gonna get kind of just over swarmed, and because I'm not proccing the smite enough to really hit all the enemies that are surrounding me, I think that might be it. Oh, smite doing a lot more damage is gonna help me quite a bit. Yep. Yeah, I probably could have made it a little farther if I really focused, but I just wanted to quickly showcase this game. As you can see here, Shauna's triple upgrades giving me reload rate, 30% reload rate, and 6 shots was pretty helpful. Unfortunately, it kind of counteracted what I was doing up until that point with Smite being triggered on reload. So, you know, because I was just trying to pick everything that was new, I really didn't have a very focused build, which led to this issue. But kind of exploring what all the upgrades are and how they can work together is a lot of the fun of this game. As I mentioned earlier on, this is how you get the currency at the end, so it's based on your time. I think this is how many enemies you killed and how many levels you got. And that kind of determines your final amount of money, which you can use to unlock more weapons, characters, and of course the runes. So thank you for watching. If you want to check out 20 Minutes Till Dawn, I will put a link to the Steam page in the description below. Have a nice day.